I'm going to apologize now that this is mainly going to be a video about rules and then digital marketing. Hey friends, it's your good friend Tim Campbell-Smith, and today we are going over tips and tricks for digital marketing for Ontario social workers. We are basing this largely off the rules of the college because we are bound by those. I'm kind of blending my interest in digital marketing, but also like going to school for social work and kind of meeting at the intersection of the two. So in this video, we're gonna go over the big like do nots and rules that you absolutely have to follow. And then we're gonna get into the tips and tricks, that you can do based on those rules. Now, with all things, always consult the rules yourself, always use discretion, check with the college as they are the authority on the matter in all things. So if you have any questions, read those rules, read those practice notes, contact the college. I'll be certainly referencing the rules of the college. They'll also be linked with this video. Before we go too far, make sure you like and subscribe for all things business, higher ed, mental health, photography, and life. Okay, so I'm definitely reading off my notes to make sure I get this right. I'm coming at this from Principle 7.1, which involves the rules of advertising. Here's my big do nots that you absolutely have to follow. Rule number 1, do not mislead, confuse, or lie. Don't say you have a master's if you don't. Don't say that you have specialized training or you have even any training in a specific modality if you don't.
Feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but these rules only exist because someone has done it before.
2, no confidential information getting out there. Don't ever talk about your clients. Don't ever talk about your practice. The next 2 I'm going to rope together. First one is don't make the college look bad. Don't speak out against the college. Don't speak ill of the college. Just don't talk about the college. Speaking of which, do not speak ill or bash, discredit, harm. That's what it says here. Discredit, harm, or speak against any other registrant. Now that includes social service workers. So social workers and social service workers. Don't speak out against others. And with that, another rule is don't compare yourself to other social workers or other social service workers, any other college registrant. So focus on you. So for example, as a consultant, I might reference other consultants and say like, oh, other consultants will do packages for their work. I work hour to hour. As a social worker, we can't say that. Don't talk about other social workers. Just talk about yourself. Don't ever make it look like other people or other organizations specifically endorse you. Don't ever ask clients to leave you a review or to follow you on social media. And I would go so far to say that this also includes prospects. So anybody who's expressed interest in your business, maybe expressed interest in working with you, don't ever ask them to follow you. Don't ever ask them for reviews or testimonials. Don't ever, and I'm going to be specific in how I say this, don't ever post on your own and of your own volition for display any testimonials. So if anybody gives you a testimonial, they write you a review or anything, you can't like make a graphic and post it on social media. You can't take the text and put it on your website, even if you anonymize it. No use of testimonials. Finally, you cannot make any claims about results. For example, I can't say I do EMDR and EMDR cures 90% of people with PTSD. No claims about that. No claims about efficacy. Those are your really big do nots. They'll get you in trouble right away. Don't do it. So basically, everything you say should be verifiable with objective facts that you can prove. Focus on yourself, focus on your capabilities, what you can and what you will do. And be in good taste, which is kind of like such an obvious thing to say, and the college says that. I go on to say, like, I would expand on that and say what good taste means is like no passive aggression, no aggression, no being mean, no jokes about violence or sex, which kind of sounds funny, but I want to make an digital marketing example. The meme of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock blew up the internet, and a lot of businesses use that. Social workers, this would probably fall into bad taste because you're promoting or encouraging violence. Okay, so that's a lot of like rules and things not to do. What does that mean you can do? Well, there's lots, and this is kind of what I do as a marketing consultant. Kind of read the rules, figure out the rules of the game, and then here's how we play it. So number 1, and I'm going to be super careful with this. We're going to spend a few minutes on this. I do want you to set up places where people can leave reviews if they find you of their own volition and on their own, and then you don't use it. The college recommends not having any anywhere. That is actually impossible on Facebook, or on Google My Business, sorry, and it's harder to do on Facebook and LinkedIn. And those are the three places where I would want there to be reviews. What I say is kind of open the door, but don't direct anyone to the door. The door might be open, but it's on the 11th floor and the elevator only goes up to the 9th. Have it. Don't encourage anyone to go use it. Don't incentivize it. Don't reward it. Don't talk about it. And then don't use it. The main reason why I still want this to be available for social workers is there's a back-end technical benefit to this. When your business has positive reviews on Google, your Google business listing, or on your Facebook page or on your LinkedIn profile, it tends to bump you up in your search rankings so you can get found more easily. We would still enjoy that benefit if it were possible. But to conform with the other rules, that's why I say don't solicit any reviews, don't be sending the link to anybody, don't be telling anyone it even exists. And if people do find it and they do use it, great, that's on them. Next, I'm going to tie 2 points into one. So the first part is watch where you put your official title. So the college recommends actually writing RSW or registered social worker, putting it in your title, putting it in your business name, putting it on your website. Don't forget, if you're an inactive member, you have to put in brackets inactive. If you're retired, you have to put in brackets retired, but including the RSW there so people know that you're a social worker. Watch where you put that. The general principle is that anywhere where you write your name, RSW needs to be there. With that, I do want you to consider the use of the term psychotherapist. The college does specify pretty specifically how to do this. Psychotherapist has to come after the registration claim. So, for example, I would write, when I had it, I would write Tim Campbell Smith, BSW, RSW, psychotherapist. The reason why I encourage the use of the term psychotherapist is that then that's a word the public will generally latch onto a little bit easier. They'll understand what that means more than if you just say you're a social worker. So that's why I recommend psychotherapist. It also tends to show up a lot in searches, and people search for like psychotherapist near me. So it helps you get discovered that way. My next tip for social workers, focus on educational content. Now, with educational content, ideally you should only be sharing content that you can verify that is evidence-based, and something that will help you kind of look smart is if you include even just like a brief citation. Smiling makes people feel happy, brackets, Campbell Smith, 2024. Whatever. So that it shows you're not just pulling it out of your butt, like it is actually evidence-based, which is a big part of what makes social work special, is that we engage in an evidence-based practice. With it, it also looks smart when you're doing your educational content if you give an example. But this is also where I say your example cannot come out of your practice. It cannot be based on any clients. You can make it up. You can say it's based on a client, even though it's not actually, but don't ever base your examples off your clients. The reason why, and I read a couple cases on this where a client read an anonymized case study from a social worker that they were engaged with as a psychotherapist, and some of the details sounded like that client, so they thought their personal information had been divulged, and breaks that confidentiality, makes the college look bad, which breaks those big rules. So that's why we don't ever make it sound like a client. Don't ever draw from your client cases. Next, another piece of content that you could create is discussing the act of working with you. So are appointments online, in person, mix of both? What are the fees? With the fees, you do have to be careful. The college specifies that if you list your fees, you also have to list what could change those fees. I think the most common exception I see is longer appointments. So you'll say like, oh, a typical, a session fee is $150 for a 60-minute session. A 90-minute session will be $175. So you have to list the exceptions to the fees. Next, and I'm going to be so careful about this to not open a can of worms and freak you out. Talk about yourself. Talk about personal things that you are comfortable, willing, and able to share. Here's a strategy I've given to a few of my therapist clients, ironically. Pick 2 to 3 things, maybe 2 to 4 things that are personal about you, but not too personal, that don't cross a boundary, and talk about those. So for example, I might say, I love cooking, I love movies, and I love hiking nature trails. And then when I talk about myself and when I post about myself, it's always in relation to cooking, hiking and nature trails, and movies I've seen. So ideally you want a content topic that gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of room, so there's lots to talk about. So cooking, you can talk about like the food and the cooking and times that food brings people together, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So lots of different ways you can talk about it. It does not have to be any personal part of you, and you gotta be careful what you disclose because people may use that information. Not maliciously. I would never suggest that a client would use information that they found on you maliciously, but the possibility is always there, and you gotta watch out for that. Next, I do want to say, when it comes to digital marketing and social media specifically, use whatever platforms you want. There's no limit on like what platforms you do or do not use. The only one that I would be real careful of is Snapchat. I think I'm actually going to be bold here and say I don't think social workers should use Snapchat at all, because it can disappear, because it's harder to prove things. You would have to document every single snap that came in, and you'd have to document every single snap that you sent. Maybe don't use Snapchat, but every other one would be fine. This is also where I recommend a platform like Pinterest, and I do have a video on Pinterest for artists, but anybody can use it, and I'll link that video as well. But this is where you can use Pinterest because it can be as personal or impersonal as you want. Great way to get found. We'll have quite a large appeal, so it'll be hard to like target only people in Ontario. You might end up catching people in all of Canada, through the US, throughout the world, but you can use a platform like Pinterest. Next, if you're doing a program, lots of people love programs and they love events, and they're a great way to market yourself. They're a great way to get your name out there, a great way to bring in revenue. Social workers have to be a little bit more careful with programs. With it, you have to specify, and I would put this in all the marketing materials. I'd even put this in a disclaimer I'd make people sign. You have to say if it's therapeutic, rules of confidentiality, and of course our limits on confidentiality, and expectations of participants and yourself, and especially like the roles that you're playing. This one will be trickier. You'll have to use your discretion and your planning to navigate. The final two kind of go hand in hand. You can do email marketing. I encourage every business, for the most part, to do email marketing. Don't ever use client emails. According to the Canadian anti-spam legislation, we can, in some cases, for some reasons, use client emails. We can use the email addresses of prospects. Don't. No. One, for collecting emails, have it on your website or in paid ads, but then don't draw attention to it. Again, it's opening the door so that if someone wants to walk through it on their own, they can. Your email marketing then has to follow all of your other content rules. So you can keep it personal. Educational content will do great. Sure, you can have like a booking link and just say like, if you want to work with me, book here, and it follows all of the other rules. Same with, final tip, paid ads. You can run paid ads. You still have to conform with the above rules. Don't be talking about other social workers. Don't be saying that you can treat things. Don't say that you're a specialist if you're not in something. You have to follow all the other content rules. But yes, you can run paid ads, and I do recommend you run paid ads. And those are your strategies. As always, I'm going to drive this home. Follow the rules of the college. It'll be linked with this video, the rules of the college. Read the rules, read the practice notes. If you ever have doubts, the Ontario College of Social Workers is actually your deciding body. Go to them before just consulting this video. Comment and let me know any other strategies you've heard of or that have worked, and we'll keep that conversation going. Otherwise, make sure you like and subscribe for all things business, marketing, photography, life, mental health, I don't know, life. Otherwise, we'll chat soon. Bye for now.